Okay, in web.xml file, if you don't configure the init parameter, then Spring will try to load an XML file. Okay, it will try to load an XML file automatically. So that time it will consider the Spring XML file is the default XML file is a servlet name, whatever you give, hyphen context.xml, right? So this is the default configuration. So using, defining the context param, right? We can also configure the listener, and you can also configure the context, right? Context parameter. So if you like to define that as a context parameter, and you don't want to define it servlet level, then what you should do, you should give at least empty init parameter. At least you should give empty init parameter, right? So you have to give the param value. Param value as without any value, so it will ignore. Then you can go to the context loader parameter, right? The context loader parameter, and you can configure that as a Spring XML as a context parameter, right? Context parameter, param name, so and the param value, okay, param value, and here the same. It's going to be the same context configure operation only, but you need to configure one listener. Um, you need to configure one listener. You need to configure one listener. Yeah. Okay, I think I don't remember that exact class name. Let's go to the documentation quickly and to get the listener class.
Yeah, hi Sunil. Anshuman join.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Okay. So when you don't, yeah. So this is what is the scenario, exact scenario, Anshuma, right? If you configure listener and you don't want to configure it servlet level, then you have still you need to add an init parameter, and but don't pass the param value. Why? Because if you don't configure this init parameter section, right, as it is, what will happen? It will try to load with the app hyphen servlet.xml file or context.xml. So that is what
Yeah.
default.
Actually, what I did, right? I did at context level.
Yeah, that is
So
fine.
I was not passing this context param, and just added the listener. So if
I
the
understood.
listener,
This is what you did, right? This is what you did.
no.
It is trying
You
to
don't
load.
remove this. No. Keep it here inside servlet. Keep it. Remove the context param,
Oh,
and
you
then try.
okay? Then it is not valid. If you add the just listener,
Yes.
it's not
Yeah.
okay. Then
Yes.
once
Yes.
okay, this is what you did, right? So
Yes.
then you
Yes.
should add it here, and you can specify this for 2 times. That is also fine, but it is don't add this until unless if you configure only one dispatcher servlet. So the listener is
Yes. Yes.
required.
I got. Yes.
No, I'm just trying to explain for everyone what is the issue you got and
Mm-hmm.
what are the scenarios are there. Okay. So if you are configured only dispatcher servlet, let's not configure the listener. And if you configure more than one servlet and you would like to use it Spring context across multiple servlet, then remove this XML file from dispatcher servlet. Okay, so this is fine. So just remove it so that Spring context will be loaded at globally, right? So this is going to be shared across multiple servlets. Okay.
Yeah, because if I was not that much aware, it took me a lot of time to understand. Almost 45 minutes. Like why application is not loading itself.
Yeah, yeah. That's good. Self debugging will teach you many things. Okay. Okay, but anyway, web.xml file we don't. write it, right? Anything is already written, then we will use it. So anything we are going to start from now, like anything we are going to do it from scratch, it's supposed to be Spring Boot application, no extra
Yeah,
configuration.
yeah. Now no one will use, but if someone asks,
Good.
right, they
It's
can
good.
ask
It's
this
good.
thing. Actually, I did it last week. Forgot to tell you to
Okay.
discuss.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Let's come back. Okay. Yeah. So yesterday we were discussing about this AOP, right? Yeah. So let's do a quick recap. Whatever we discussed yesterday. We learned about aspect, right? Aspect is a combination of all these three concepts: advice, point cut, and join point. So advice is again five types, right? Before, after throwing, after returning, after, and around, right? So before we'll execute just before our method execution. After throwing will execute when a method throws an exception. After returning will execute when a method returns successfully, right? And after is a combination of after throwing and after returning. And if you would like to club before and after, then we can use around. So around is a combination of all above four, right? But writing only advice may not be the full-fledged AOP, right? So we need to configure point cut also. Point cut is a kind of expression which will take the decision when this advice has to be executed. So when we mix point cut with advice, then only our AOP will be completed. We can add join point to these topics. So what will happen? Your AOP will be more powerful, right? So join point has a couple of utility methods. So by using those methods, you can log method information, class information, arguments information, the return type, right? The return type. So some extra benefits you are going to get. So we saw yesterday a couple of examples, right? At before, at after throwing, after returning, around, right? So all these things we saw yesterday. Okay. So let's see a couple of examples which are available in the documentation. So let me quickly go to the documentation. So yeah, let's go to aspect J support. We already discussed how to enable the aspect J. Okay, so if it is not a Spring Boot application, then we need to add this annotation. If it is an XML configuration, then we should do this. Okay, this is optional in Spring Boot. Okay, enable aspect J auto proxy. Without Spring Boot, we should do this. Okay, yeah. So declaring aspect, yesterday we saw, right? You can create using bean, or you can annotate a class with that aspect and component, right? Combination of, and declaring point cut, yes. So there are so many ways you can declare the point cut. So we tried with execution, so we don't discuss all these things. Like, let's directly go to the examples and see how a couple of examples we will see, right? And we can get a better idea about point cuts. It is also possible to join multiple point cuts. How we can do that, we will see, right? And yeah, examples, right? So how to define the point cuts. But before that, I would like to show you one more thing. So in the yesterday's example, okay, in yesterday's example, yeah, if I comment this around, let's comment this around. Let's go back and enable the remaining pointers, right? Like before, around advice. Sorry, before, after throwing, after returning, right? So let's go back and enable those pointers. Okay, okay. So when we look at this code, is there anything looks hard for you by looking into this example?
No, only this new phase, sir.
Okay.
New this okay.
Yeah, others: Jupudi, Sharath, Venkat, Vijay, Madhu, Hari, Jega, Venkat. Is there anything looks hot? Don't you feel that?
Yeah, so many methods for
Yeah.
one plus method. So many.
So the same string constant pool, we are hard coding it in many places, right? So here and here, it's very bad programming practice, right? So what should we do?
Point
Yeah,
cut out.
we should avoid this, right? So let's declare this in one place. Let's declare this in one place and try to use it in the other places. So how we can do that? So let's write a point cut, right? Let's write this point cut separately. Okay. Yeah. So value is this one, whatever the point cut expression you are giving. So that's not going to change, right? The expression will not going. It's not going to change. So instead of that, what we can do, we can give, yeah, we can separate the point cut. So I cannot say that, I mean, all the times we do this, right? So sometimes the point cut may be vary from one point cut to another point. When you see that the same point cut expression is duplicating in multiple places, instead of duplicating it, let's separate it, because tomorrow when you would like to do the change, just change it in one place, the remaining all the places it's going to affect, right? So that is what is constants, right? In Java we use constants. The benefit what we're gonna get, so just change it in one place, so it's going to reflect in all the places. Okay, let's give some meaningful name to, I mean, some, yeah, meaningful name to this expression. So what we are doing here, we are executing, we are writing a point cut for all the methods, right? So all methods in, right, all methods in hello world, right? So all methods in hello world. Yes. So this is what is my point cut, right? Yeah. I wanted to execute something for all methods in hello world, right? Yes. So let's go ahead and use the same expression, right? So let's go ahead and use the same expression. So wherever you see that point cut expression, so it can be removed and it can be replaced with the direct point cut. So the benefit what you're gonna get, the same kind of benefit what we will get it in the Java constants, right? So Java constants. So in Java constants, we will declare it in one place, and any update needs to be done, we will update in one place, so that all the references will be automatically updated. So the same concept, right? So I mean, the people who doesn't know about Java constants, we usually do it like public static final string, okay, string, and you can say some common message, right? For example, yeah, instead of hard coding, for example, some URL name or something. Okay, yeah. So wherever you are using this URL name, you can use that reference, right? URL name. So why usually we do this? Because instead of hard coding it in the many places, if you just use this constants concept, so tomorrow if any change happen to this URL, just update in one place. For example, tomorrow this your application might be running on 8082 or 8083. Instead of going and changing in each and every method, just update in one place, so that it will going to reflect all the places where we are using this URL, right? So that is what is the benefit with the constant. So the same concept here also. Instead of doing that in the many places, let's define the point cut, right? Let's define the point cut and use this reference. So tomorrow when you would like to change it, for example, tomorrow I would like to remove, right? So I wanted to update this for all the methods which are not taking any argument, right? Which is not taking any argument. Then I can remove this dot dot, right? I can remove this dot dot. Or else tomorrow I would like to change it like any class which is present in AOP package, right? Any class which is present in AOP package, then AOP dot star, right? So regular expression. So now we changed our point cut, which is going to applicable for all the classes, right? All the classes which are present in AOP package, AOP package. So for example, if you would like to do something, so it's better to separate it, right? So when we will write the point cut separately, when you are using your expression for more than one time, so for you will get better control on this, right? So it's going to be the same story, we just moved away, right? So we just moved our expression into one place, and we are using that reference, so it will work as it is working just here, right? So let's run the code. You see the before after successful execution, and you see that successfully it will be executed, right? So before statement is printing, before statement is printing, and some messages are getting, right? Yes. So let's do one thing. Let's go to our point cuts and print the point cut messages, right? Let's print the point cut messages in the error mode, so that we will have a better idea what is point cut, what is our aspect is printing, and what is our um, Java application is printing, right? So all our point cuts are going to be printed in error mode, right? Yeah. So let's rerun the code. You see whatever is printing on the red in color, that is through aspect. Whatever is printing in the black in color, that is our application, right? So application, yeah, method called for 3 times. So our aspect is calling like before aspect, before aspect, before aspect. Yes. So this is it after, right? Finally will also getting printed. Hey, congrats, your method after it after is getting printed, right? It after is getting printed. Yes, so this is how we can get the benefit. And tomorrow, if you would like to change every method which is executing in the AOP package, not only hello world. If we do like this, what will happen? You see so many times this is being called because Spring is going to call main method, then our aspect will get executed. Spring is going to call start method, our aspect is going to get executed. So now we changed every method call in this AOP package. So there are a couple of methods in the hello world, there are a couple of methods in the start, right? So obviously whatever the methods which are there in the Spring AOP demo also is going to cover now. So let's test this. You see this time we are going to get so many methods are printed, right? So many method calls are printed, right? Yeah. So our main method also, yeah, start method, right? Main method. So there are Spring also calling couple of methods in this package. So for those methods also, our aspect is going to get executed, right? So it's just a small change. It's just we change it to start, and it's going to reflect for all the advices, right? And it is also possible to use our AND operator, R operator, right? So you can also club multiple pointers, right? Multiple pointers. So, for example, let's go to the example combining pointers. You see here any public operation in trending, right? So any public method in trending, so you can use AND operator. So if you would like to use R operator, yes, you can use, right? So Java AND operator and R operators also. So when you use AND operator, it will check both the combination. Okay, it should be public, and it should present in trending package. It should present in trending package. And so point cuts are going to be used like in terms of regular expressions. So any extra star, any extra dot will play a major difference, right? So you see a major difference is going to be placed. So it's not recommended to like remember these expressions. So tomorrow when you would like to do when you would like to write an AOP, it's better to go to the documentation and example sections. So whatever which is fits for you, you can copy this expression, because all these are a simple extra star, right? So extra star, extra dot will make a lot of difference, right? So let's see a couple of examples. For example, in your application, right, in your application, if you would like to write a point cut for every public method, any public method, right, any public method, so then you have to use execution public star star dot, right? So any public method, so the class name can be anything, package can be anything, right? Method name can be anything, and it can take any number of parameters. Star means any class, any package, any class, any method which is taking any number of parameters, zero number of parameters, or n number of parameters, right? Yes. So if you would like to write any point cut for any public method in your application, so it's going to be public star star dot, right? Public star star dot. If you would like to write for setter methods, right? Setter methods, and this time it's a star, right? So any setter method, it can be a public setter method, default setter method, private setter method, right? When you say public, and public, private, and default method, because we said star, right? So that can be any method, and but the method should always start with set keyword, right? Set keyword, and it can end with anything. So set data, set username, set email address, set, right? Any setter method, or any setter method, or else any method which is starting with a keyword set. So then we have to use this expression, and it's a dot dot, so the method can take any number of parameters, right? It can be a string type, integer type, serializable type, any type. It can be any type, right? So this is for setter methods. If you would like to do, for example, if I say, can you please write, right? Can you please write every public setter method, right? If I say any public setter method, then you should do execution, right? Execution. So public, it should be public, star, right? The package name is star, okay? Dot star, or star, yeah, star dot set star, right? Set star, and any number of parameters. So this is for public, and method name should be set. Method name should start with set. Method name should start with set. So that's what I'm telling. It's very hard to write point cut expressions. So let's not remember. Based on the requirement, you just go to these examples, and you just join it, and you have to evaluate at that time, at that point of time. Yes. So let's go to the third one. This we already saw, right? So any method, public, private, default, whatever it is, any method which is present inside this class, right? So package name dot class name. So it's going to be that exact class, and star. We gave the star, right? So it's going to be any method, and we give dot dot, right? So any number of arguments. It can be a string, integer, long, double, serializable, runnable, whatever it is. Runnable, jumpable, right? So whatever it is. So it's going to be it's going to be applicable for any method which is taking any number of arguments, right? Any number of arguments. But it's going to execute for every method. It can be a public, private, or whatever it is, and it's going to method name can be anything. Okay, I will scroll down. You see there is an extra dot will be added, right? It's just yeah. So this time we give star, right? This also we try star. So this time it's going to be any class, any method, any method which is present in com xyz service, right? Com xyz. So service package. It can be anything. But now tell me, if I have something like this, right? So now I have package something like this, from XYZ service. Okay, it has two classes, right? Some account service, right? Account service and loan service. Yes, there are two classes are there: account service, loan service. Okay, now let's go and write a sub package. Okay, service dot account, right? Service dot product. Okay, yeah. So this has a product service. This also has some kind of accessory, okay, or else summary service, right? So if we configure something like this, okay, the first one will cover only for account service, right? Only for service account service. Let's give the full name, right? Service account service. So if you go to the loan service, the first expression won't be supportable, right? So this is going to be covered only for account service, Yes. Yeah. If we go for second one, star dot. So this is going to be executed only the classes which are present in service. So the classes which are present in product will not be covered, right? The classes which are present in product will not be covered. Only the classes which are present inside service. So it's not applicable for sub packages. So how we can get it executed for sub packages? Then you should say service dot, right? Extra dot you need to add. So just compare this and this. What is the difference? It's a single dot. So if you just put extra, then it will cover for subpackages also. In this expression, just adding one more dot, right? Just adding one more dot. So what will happen? So the classes which are present in product, the classes which are present in product package also, this point cut expression is going to cover, right? So that's what I said. A simple dot, extra star. By mistakenly you type it, right? By mistakenly you type, then your point cut will behave in a different manner, right? Your point cut is going to behave in different manner. So be very careful with point cut expression, right? So here it just extra dot, it just extra dot. What will happen? So automatically this point cut is going to execute, right? So this point cut is going to get executed for all the packages and sub packages, all the packages and sub packages. The same way, okay, yeah. So with this we are done with execution, right? So with this we are done with execution. But most of the times, if your requirement is all the methods in a class, all the methods in a package, so when you sound like, okay, I want to execute all methods in a class or all methods in a package, right? So when is your requirement something like this, instead of using execution, there is a particular point cut is available, dedicated point cut available for these kind of requirements, called within, right? So it's more readable, right? Which is more readable. Excuse me, 1 minute. Back, okay. Yeah. So if your requirement is something like this, all methods in a class, all methods in a package, all methods in a sub package, instead of using execution, it's better to use within, right? So it sounds much better, right? Within class, within package, right? So that is what is within. So it's just a different naming convention. So within this package, right? Within this package. So you can remove this extra star, right? So this is going to be pretty easy comparatively with execution. But you must remember this is for when you would like to call a within package, within class, right? So that time we should write this within so this is applicable for all the classes which are present in service package, all the classes which are present in service, right? So if you would like to cover it for sub packages, it's we already know, right? Extra dot needs to be added. Extra dot needs to be added. Right? Yeah. So when you would like to execute for a particular interface or a class methods, right? Particular interface or class. So mostly for interfaces, we should use this. So the classes which are implements account service interface, for those kind of requirements, it will be like this is suitable, right? So interface implementation classes scenario can be achieved by using this. Yes. So similarly, we also have some target. Yeah. So target. So it's the same kind of thing. The target object is account service implementation, and you can use target. Yes. For example, sometimes you would like to apply the method is taking particular argument type, right? So if any method in your application takes a serializable, right? A serializable, it's going to be runtime. So any serializable object, it can be an integer, string, or your own class which implements serializable. So if you would like to do something for those methods, any method which takes serializable, then you can write args. So args is going to work for method level arguments, right? Method level arguments. So we have similarly annotation support also. At the target, if any method is annotated with at the target transactional, or else within means particular package which is annotated with a transactional. Mostly we don't use this at target at within at a target at within, right? So at arg, so we mostly using this one for custom annotations. So this is very important. At annotation, right? At annotation. So sometimes what we will do, we will write our own custom annotation. Sometimes we will write our own custom annotation, and we would like to keep that annotation on any particular method. So, and at that point of time, we would like to do something, right? At that point of time, we would like to do something. For example, at request mapping, right? At request mapping, at get mapping, at post mapping, right? So we will keep that annotation on top of any method, and we would like to do something. But this supports only method, right? So this supports only method anyway. Get method, post method, get mapping, post mapping, put mapping, request mapping, delete mapping, patch mapping. These are method level annotations, right? Only method level annotations. So those can be processed by using at annotation. So similarly, you can also write your own custom annotation. We will see one example. We will write our own custom annotation today, and we will put it on some method. We will put it on some method, and we will um, try to do some logging, right? Try to do some logging, right? How we can do that, we will see today. Okay, so we will write our own custom annotation, and we will try to keep that in our mobile service, right? Every method in mobile service, so like controller, service method, right? So controller method, service methods, we will keep that annotation, and we will log the time, exact time, how much it's going to take, right? How much time it's going to take, so that we will do it. Okay. Yes, so that is what is, so these many ways we can declare pointers. So most of the times we use execution within args, execution within args and custom annotations. Right, these four are most commonly used types in the real time project. Right, so writing custom annotation and focusing on a particular argument taking, and within package, within class, something like that, or else custom regular expression by using execution. By using execution, mostly the topmost will be execution. Most of the times we will write execution. Most of the times we will write execution. So next preference is within. Then the next preference is args. And if you would like to write your own custom annotation, then we will go for at annotation. So these four are very, very, very important. Okay. So we already saw example for execution, right? So we will use one execution for in our mobile service. Every method which is present inside our mobile service, we will log the time. We will log the time, and at the same time, we will also try to write our own custom annotation, and we will use at annotation pointer, right? So these two we will write. So we already discussed about advice. So before advice, how you will write. So before advice for this execution, and after returning execution, and if you would like to get control on the object, right? Control on the returning object, and after throwing, right? After throwing, yes, some point cut, and after throwing, and if you would like to do some logging or some emailing the messages, then throwing. Yes, and after finally, which is a combination of returning and throwing, right? And around is a combination of all, right? Around is a combination of all. But when you declare around, you must pass this, right? Proceeding join point object. Proceeding join point object. And you can also pass, yeah, proceeding join point has these methods, get args, yeah, join point, any join point, not only proceeding join point, any join point has these utility methods, args, what are all the arguments that method is going to take as input parameter. Get this, get target, get signature, right? Yes. So signature is going to return the method information, target. So what is the target object? What is the current object, right? And it also has um, class level information, right? Get class level information also it has. And if you would like to pass some parameters as input, yes, you can pass, no problem, right? You can also pass, but mostly don't pass any custom parameters. Use join point to get the object. Okay. Yes. Okay, so this is all about AOP. This is all about AOP. So the documentation talks about XML configuration also, right? But we are not going to focus on XML configuration. Our intention is mostly learning Java configuration. So if you would like to learn the XML configuration, yes, but that entire AOP configuration should be wrapped inside AOP config, and you make sure you enable aspect, right? So first we discussed, first of all, we, I mean, at first we saw one XML tag, right? AOP Yeah, this one. AOP aspect is a auto proxy. So you must enable the aspect J. So if you are not using Spring Boot, then you must do it. Right? If you are using Spring Boot, you no need to do. But Spring Boot XML configuration also possible. So that entire configuration should be wrapped inside AOP config, and you have to define what is your aspect and what is your point cut. Okay, what is your aspect, what is your point cut, and what is your advice, and what is your point cut expression. Right, so everything you need to, and you can give some id and you can do join also, right? And this is what our advice AOP before. Yes, so the same way we have AOP after AOP. um, yeah, so see, we have AOP before, AOP before, AOP after returning, after throwing. So all these are XML tags, right? All these are XML tags. But anyway, so we are not going to focus on XML, but might be there, right? Some project which is written in 2010 or 2015 or before that. So this is there since Springborn, right? AOP there since for so many years. So you can, it is also been, I mean, if anything new, then try with Java. Don't use XML. Anything new you are going to do, try with Java. But sometimes you may need to work on the existing project which is written in XML configuration. That time you see these kind of tags, right? So how Java is working the same way XML is going to work. There is no difference. It is just matter how which configuration you choose, right? So if anything latest, obviously it's Java, but anything written already in anything which is already developed might be XML configuration, right? So don't get panic. So by looking into this XML configuration, it's the same thing, just we configured using XML. So whatever we are configuring using Java, like this, right? Annotations, right? Um, yeah, annotation. So it's going to be the same configuration, but in terms of XML, in terms of XML. So I just give it to you. You just go through this XML and you try all these examples, right? You try all these examples because our intention is learning Java AOP XML, right? Java Spring AOP. So I'm going to show all the examples using Java, all the examples using Java. And what you must do, you must try your from your end. You should convert all those Java AOP configuration, right? You should convert all the Java AOP configuration into XML. So that's what your um, uh, assignment, and you must take this as a reference. Don't rely on any third party tutorial. It's better to go through the official documentation. That is what is highly recommended, right? The official documentation, uh, I mean, practicing is good, because going forward, I'm for sure Spring will give new features, new versions will come. So this is the golden source, right? So Spring official documentation is the golden source. If you learn at least 10 percentage, if you learn at least 10 percentage out from this documentation, you will be a good. If you learn 50 percentage out from this documentation, you can become expert. No one can learn 100 percentage for sure. Even the people who wrote the Spring also cannot be 100 percentage expert in the entire documentation, right? So we cannot expect that. At least expect like 20 to 30 percentage. Start with like 10 percentage. If you understood 10 percentage, it's fine. um, so just do the same exercise again and again and again. So obviously you will get better idea. So if you learn at least 40 to 50 percentage, then you can mark yourself as master. Okay. So you can also write some one or more advices, and you can give some ordering also, right? So you can also specify. I mean, you can also give some ordering, right? So that is also possible, right? But anyway, yesterday as we discussed, AOP is costly. Don't write unwantedly, because it's going to increase your cost of your project, right? So response time is increase, it's going to increase, and it's going to consume more resources of server. So wherever you feel it is not required, let's not do it. Okay, let's not use it. So wherever you feel something, okay, some kind of logging, or you wanted to do for each method execution, or you wanted to log all the exceptions which are occurring in your application, or you would like to log the methods which are taking some particular type, right? So those kind of things if you would like to do, so you just do it. But let's not do too much AOP, right? Let's not use too much AOP in the project. Okay, so it will decrease the performance.
Yeah, Sunil.
Yeah, Madhu.
Yeah, in one of our projects, like they extensively used AOP, like for making external service calls or for making MQ calls, even for logging.
Hmm. It's up to, I mean, obviously they will be taking more time. The performance will be little slower when we are using compare with the native Java support, because
Okay.
these are some proxy classes has to be created, and those
That proxy classes, will they be created for one time,
it's object creation only one time, but the
right?
method
So
execution happens, right? So it has to pass through that proxy. So there might be some delay in the milliseconds, and if you do something extra, it will the time will
o-
increase.
okay, maybe for the first time it may delay, and later it can speed up, right? Anything like that?
No, obviously the first request, I mean, if you are using Spring, there is no delay because all your proxies will be created at the time of application start.
Yes.
But when we compare with with AOP without AOP, at least you see some delay in milliseconds.
Okay. And
At least,
also one more thing, like in our normal class, right? How can we identify like something like AOP is injected here? If we go back to our example, right? We may
that
not be knowing by looking at our main method or our hello world class.
yeah, so that you cannot do it. The only way what you can do is you can go to your application and put a breakpoint and see whether is there any method is executing just before this method execution, right? So let's put a breakpoint here and try to run the application in debug mode. What will happen? The breakpoint will be stopped here, right? So go to your debug tracking, and you can see is there anything which is executing just before. So switch, just go to debug perspective, right? In the debug menu, it will try to show the logging
Yeah.
and the method execution stack trace, right? You see that AOP proxy. So then you can understand, okay, there is something is executing type after returning, right? So after returning, yeah. So just before something you can identify, but for that you need to see method before advice and after returning advice, right? So these two are tied up to my method. So like that you can identify. That is the only way you can do.
Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise, searching at the rate aspect in the entire project and go through them once.
Yeah. So yeah, but sometimes what will happen? Your aspect code will be put it in a other jar file, so search may not work all the time,
Okay.
right? So when you do a search control H and search for a string, it will search only in the current project, right? It can't go
Yes.
for jars. So
Yeah.
I mean, we cannot guarantee search will always work. If it is a single project, it's okay. Monolithic, it's okay. But in the microservices architecture, we cannot guarantee that, right? So it's better debug and check is there any AOP associated. Yes, it is by looking into the trace, the trace, you can identify what are all the advices are associated to that particular method execution. That is one of the way. Thanks, Manu.
Okay. So,
Others, any questions? If not, we can directly jump into our microservices and we can start writing AOPs.
Yeah, Sunil, the accessing that sub packages, that product, and you explained the example, right?
Mhm.
So how many sub packages there? How many dots we have to put it there?
No, only one that it will execute for all the sub packages.
Okay,
We will see one
but you
example
okay?
in our
Yeah,
microservice because we have multiple sub
yeah,
packages, right? Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
One dot is enough.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah. Thanks, Venkat. Any other questions?
okay.
Jagadish, Jupuri, Anshman,
No, Sunil, good.
Vijay.
Fine.
Yeah, so let's yeah. So yeah, let's go to our mobile service. Okay. So right now we don't have any AOB. So what we will do, we will try to log each method. Each method, it can be any method, right? It can be a controller method, it can be a DTO method, it can be an execution exception method, a filter method, model method, repository method, whatever it is. Every method which is taking in my mobile service application, if I would like to log that, then AOP is the best point because filter can log the complete request processing time. It can't go to each method, how much time the controller it took and how much time the service it took, how much time the repository it took, right? So we cannot do that, right? So what should we do? So right now at this point of time, for example, we have only one filter, right? So we have only one filter and go to the configuration. We have only one filter. Yeah, let's go to the configuration and make sure we configure only one filter. Yes, only one filter. So if I run this code, let's start the application. So whatever is there, let's look at now and let's implement AO because filter is not supportable, right? So filter is not supportable for our requirement. It's connecting to the database. So let me open the Postman. And one quick question. Yesterday, I sent an email, right, about our weekend workout.
Yes, yes.
Okay. I just want to confirm because I thought I forgot. Okay. So let's the Postman get open. Meanwhile, let's quickly send a request from browser, right? So it's localhost 8080 at msk/mobiles, right? So let me send the request. Yeah, I think Postman and so up and running. Let's go to this is our standalone, right? So let's close this. We have only one Eclipse where our application is running. So let me send a request. You see, yeah, the total time processing, right? The total time processing is printing now. So let's do one thing. Oh, there is some exception thing. What is that? No default constructor entity model. Okay, so I think mobile.java, the default constructor is missing.
Not
So
there.
yeah, let's go to the model class. That's fine. Whether it's exception or whatever it is, uh, we got still the time processing, right? Yeah, let's add no R constructor. Let's also add all R constructor. Okay, some people feel that Lombac give trouble for the Jackson and all. So add these constructors, then the issue will be fixed. Okay.
Sunil, one thing, that default constructor will get auto-generated, right?
No,
Why
no.
it is?
Whenever we are using builder, no constructor.
Oh, okay.
So now let's go ahead and send the request. You see, now we will get the data. Yes, and we see that the total processing it took like triple one, right? So triple 1 seconds. Let's do one thing. I don't know where we are printing this 109. Let's go to the filter. Let's go to the filter and let's print the details. No, this triple one we are printing. Okay, let's remove. So the total time processing is like triple one second, right? So let's give some meaningful message, right? The total time taken to process, print the URL, right? So let's print the URL. So from where we can get the URL, I think we can get it from the servlet request. So it
Yeah,
won't it won't
request.
be it won't be available, I think, on directly servlet request. We should go to HTTP. Okay, I believe it won't be there. It won't be there in the servlet request. So let's typecast it into um, HTTP servlet request. to get the URL, right? URL or URI. Path info, one is path info, query string, post, code, yeah, the request URL, right? So the request URL is going to give you the complete URL. So let's print the URL. Yes, let's print the complete URL, no problem. Okay, or else if you would like to print only the particular endpoint, right? So let's give request the request URI. I think this will print only the particular method, the endpoint, right? Yes, and the total time taken to process slash mobile slash MSK slash mobile is, right, this one. And let's say in millis, right? So we are doing this in the milliseconds. Let's give that information, right? Let's print that information, save this file. As we added dev tools, yeah, the application will automatically started. Yes. Yeah, generation we are later done. Let's go and send one more time the same request. Okay, so the total time taken to process MSK mobiles is 54 milliseconds. I think this is more readable, right? Yes, let's send for one more time. Okay, yes. Now let's send an ID, right? So let's try to fetch one particular mobile information. So this time it says that mobile MSK1 is 120 milliseconds. There is some exception. Message cannot convert a response with present content type null. What is that content type null? No convert. What happened?
I think might be request object needs some kind of parameter.
It's not request, right? It's response. So response.
I think header parameter it needs some kind of header parameter.
Let's go to response.java. We added builder. I think here it is no arc constructor is missing. Let's add that. Let's add all our constructor. Yeah, so this is what is the problem with the JSON. Okay, so by looking into this error, yeah, let's see whether the issue will be solved or not. Then we can give the statement. So let's send the request. No converter for content type null. Oh, got it. I think our method is returning both JSON and
XML.
yeah, XML. So we need to specify what content we need. Yes.
Yeah,
Let's
that was I was saying.
Yeah.
We have to pass the content type what server wants.
Yeah. Let's remove this. Okay, let's remove and not this, right? So let's remove these producers. Let's give only the JSON response. Yeah, let's do the save.
So Sunil, if you produce anything in between, right, like other clients will be impacted, right?
So if you no, the problem is client side. Actually, he is not sending what type of data he wants, right? From browser, we cannot send. We go to Postman and if
Postman we can do it.
accept content type JSON, then it will work. So it's a issue at client side.
Yes.
I mean, they are supposed to send, right?
They're supposed to. From
Yes.
browser, it's not possible. That's why we are getting that error. For example, if I put the code back.
So it's simple, right? Like whenever you are calling any method, right? Any API in a HTTP header, you will always send content type. Otherwise, it will not work.
Yeah, so we need to send this accept, right? Accept what type of response we want, right? We wanted so JSON, right?
Yeah.
So that is what is missing now. So let's go to headers and add one more header. It's not post, right? It's a get. So let's take the new request and just copy paste this. Okay, we have default eight header parameters. Instead of star, let's give our own header parameter, right? So
I think you have to add it.
That is what I'm just trying to do. Yeah, here in the bottom, you can
Yeah,
say accept.
application JSON
Yeah,
or whatever.
application slash JSON. XML means XML you will get it. So now if I send it, it will work. Localhost 8080 MSK mobile state params. Yeah, in the response, let me send the request. Sending the request. You see, you got the response, right? So the problem is from browser when we send, we are missing this. For example, if I miss this accept here, I will get the same exception, right? If I miss this accept here, so what will happen? Yeah. So in the header parameter that is missing, so that's why we are getting that exception. So Postman is defaultly sending that header parameter, right? Postman is defaultly sending. So, but when we send from the browser, it was not working. So that is the reason why we are getting that exception. Okay. Yes. Yeah. So now let's go and see. You see that MSK Mobiles 1 is like it took 10 milliseconds, right? So now it's much better readable way we are printing the messages to the filter. Whatever is there till now we didn't add anything AOP related, right? So just we are just framing, right? Properly printing the messages. So to give more idea, what you should do, you should say this one. You should give the method name also, right? You should give the method name. So if you would like to give the complete information, then call get a request URL, right? Get request URL, then it will bring the complete information, what method and what is the full URL. But let's not do that in the production, okay? If you do that, you will log every server information, so some security problems will come, right? Especially whenever you are running in the cloud, that might be little risky. So that's why we don't log the complete URL. If I send it, you see that complete request, right? Complete request is printed. So it's also possible to print the method name also, what HTTP method you are sending. So that is also you can do it. So instead of doing the typecast for a couple of times, let's do it in one place, right? So just do typecast to HTTP request, HTTP servlet request, and call this H request, right? HREQ. So these methods are already present in HREQ, right? HTTP servlet request. So you can call HREQ.get URL. So it's also possible to get HTTP method, right? So dot get what HTTP method we are sending. So get method. So it says post put, right? Post put get whatever HTTP method we are sending. So that will also be printed. Yeah, it's done. Let's go. You see get request, right? You see get request, and this is the URL, and it took 21 seconds, right? If I remove this and you just send it to get request, and this is the URL, and it took 23 milliseconds, right? So this is what is a complete logging, right? How much time that request it took we are logging, but we are not logging how much time each method it took, right? So for example, all of a sudden tomorrow, I'm not, I mean, it won't be happen. Like, I mean, the code won't be there like this, but just to tell you, just for demo purpose, I'm adding. So tomorrow might be your database is taking some more time, right? Yeah. So I mean, we have less data. That's why we are doing this manually. So it's a time unit, right? Yeah, time unit dot seconds dot sleep. Let's make thread to sleep for 10 seconds or else 5 seconds. So if any uh, like for example, let's assume that this is what your DB call is taking, right? So your DB call is taking more than 5 seconds. So you don't know, right? By looking into the logs, you don't know. For example, yeah. So there is some slowdown happen, right? There is some slowdown happen. Your database might be taking some time. So when you send the request, obviously it will take more than 6 seconds because your database is taking 5 seconds, right? Yeah. So obviously, yeah, your response time is more than 5 seconds, right? More than 5 seconds. So by looking into these logs, you cannot say whether it is controller taking time or service taking time or or the SQL is taking, right? So you cannot say that, right? Yeah. So what we can do, we should debug, right? We should debug and understand. You should open the thread dump and see each method how much time it is taking, right? So instead of going for the thread dump, so what you can do, better implement AOP, right? Better implement AOP and log each method how much time it is taking, right? Better log each method, yeah, better. So I mean, let's print those details in the logs for better, easy debugging process, right? Yeah, so let's, I mean, just for demo purpose, I have added this code, right? In real time, let's not do this, okay? Never ever do this, okay? Never make your thread to sleep for some time, okay? Just for, I mean, we can't make DB downtime, right? So that's why we are, we are trying to replicate the scenario by using thread sleep. Okay. Now let's implement AOP and try to identify each method. I mean, each method, I mean, any method, it can be any method, how much time they are taking. So it's pretty easy. Let's go to class, right? Let's write a new class and call, let's write aspect, right? So what we can name, so method execution time, right? Method execution time aspect, yes. So each method, how much time it is taking, it's going to log. We know what all of the annotations we need to keep. One is at component and another one is at aspect, right? One is at component and another one is at aspect, yes. So let's write a generic, yeah, but before that, let's move this into AOP folder, right? Yes. Yeah. AOP code, let's move it into AOP folder. Yes. Let's write a point cut which is generic, which is going to apply, for every method in this project, every method. So what is the root folder? MSK Mobile, right? MSK Mobile is the root folder. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna uh, write a point cut, right? So let's write a point cut. Yes, let's write a point cut. So let's use execution, right? I think it's execution only. Document. Aspect support. Declaring point cut. Execution. Yes. Let's go for the examples. Okay. Examples. Yeah, we would like to configure for every method. So first of all, yeah, start every method inside my Spring Boot MSK mobile package. So that is what is my root package, right? Root package. If I put start, it will take Spring methods, everything, right? That is what we don't wanted. We wanted only for my application specific, right? Only for my application specific. If you put start and every method which takes any number of arguments, right? Start dot. So which means our current project start dot start, right? Start dot start, which means every method and every class and every method inside my mobile package. Let's give a name, right? Public void every method, or else all methods in mobile service, right? All methods in mobile service. But just now we discussed, right? One dot will not cover for child packages, right? One dot will not go for sub packages. So let's put one more dot, right? Dot, which means current package and sub package. What we configured, package which is starting from org Spring Boot MSK Mobile dot current package and sub packages. The class name can be anything, package name can be anything, right? The second step, package name can be anything, dot, which means every method, I mean any number of arguments, any number of arguments. So let's try to resolve this expression, right? So try to understand.
Well, if you have more than one sub packet, like
that is what
sub-package
it will work. It will work for all sub packages. Dot for all sub packages. If you put only one dot, current package. one dot current package. If you add one more dot, all the sub packages, controller, service, right?
Yeah, under
Controller.
sub package again we have one
Yes,
more
it
sub
will,
package.
it
Even
will
that
take,
will be considered, right?
yes, yes,
Okay.
it will work for that one also. Okay, star any class, star any method, dot dot any number of arguments. So first star is the class name, second star is the method name, dot dot in the parenthesis, which means any number of arguments, any number of arguments in this package, right? In this class or in this that method takes any number of argument. The type can be anything, type can be anything, right? So we are done with the point cut. Okay, let's not write before, let's write directly around, right? So we want to log the time, so let's go for around and um, yeah, sorry, value is going to be the point cut, right? So we wrote a separate point cut, so let's give the method name here. Yes, value is this this point cut. Good. So next we should define, right? And around should always return the object. Make just remember that if you are writing around advice, method return should be object. Method return type should be object. Okay. Yes. Now let's give a name. Log execution time, right? Log execution time advice, log execution time advice, and we need to pass proceed join point, right? So proceed join point, yes, PJP. Let's give a short name, PJP. Yes. Inside this, we must call this PJP dot proceed method, right? PJP dot proceed. Yes. This method throws exception, so just around with try catch. Yeah, let's get the object, right? Target object equals to null. There we go. And assign this target object, right? Assign this target object. I mean, just get it from proceed, and finally return the target object. Whatever the actual method returns, we are going to get it. Whatever the actual method is going to return, we are going to get it. Yes, we are going to get it. And let's log the time. We are just only logging the time. We are just logging the time. Start time equals to system dot, right, system dot current time in millis. There we go, current time in millis. So just before returning the object, right? Just before returning the object, let's not use sysouts and all. That is not a good practice. Let's use logging, perfect logging. So let's use a Lombac SLF4J annotation. So you no need to declare that log also. So log variable automatically created. So log dot, let's print it in error mode, right? So let's print it in error mode because it is required even for the production also. Let's print it in error mode. Let's print the time taken to execute. Time taken to execute. Then we need to say what method we are executing, right? So you cannot say generic. General statement may not be that much useful, right? So general statement may not be useful, that much useful. So we need to see the method name, what method we are executing, right? What method we are executing. So to get the method name, let's call PJP dot get signature dot. I'm going to print the complete name. What class, what method, right? What class, what method, the full detail called too long string, right? Too long string will print the complete name, package, class name, class name, method name. Everything is going to be printed plus, right? The total time taken to execute the class name, method name, and class name, method name, package name. Yes, is how much time it took. Is, yeah. So let's do the current time minus, right? System dot current time in millis minus the starting time, right? Current time minus starting time. Yes. Plus, let's say it's in milliseconds, right? Let's give the clarification. Usually we will log in milliseconds only. Okay. Most of the times we log in milliseconds only, but it's better to give that. give the it's better to say that, okay, in millis. So we are, it's very simple, like kind of filter only we are doing it, right? So whatever we did it yesterday, it's the same copy paste, right? So it's the same copy paste, but we are applying for our mobile service. We are applying for our mobile service. So it's going to be start time. Just define the start time and get the target object. If any exception thrown, just print it on the logs. Print it on the logs. Then finally, just say how much time this method took, right? How much time that method took to complete the process, right? And finally return the object. Finally return the object. Yes. So we are done with aspect. We are done with aspect, right? So we don't need to do anything, right? It's automatically configured. As we are using Spring Boot, it's going to be automatically configured because we annotated with a component. Because we annotated with a component, so it's automatically registered. So we don't need to do anything. Just write aspect, point cut around. That's it. Spring Boot will take care about the configuration, right? Spring Boot will take care about configuration. Now let's start the application. It's a show time. Okay. Yes, it started. It's a logger statement, right? So it won't be printing in the red in color. Okay, make sure you understood that part. Okay, so let me send the request. You see, this time it should be printing, right, the method execution aspect, right? Method execution aspect. So it's saying that, okay, so JPA, yeah, so you see the JPA find all method took how much time?
365 milliseconds.
Yes, 355 milliseconds. Now you see
Okay.
service get all mobiles took 440
Oh,
milliseconds. Controller took 453. It's a combination of all, because from service we are calling, right?
yeah, it's showing all hierarchy. I think all hierarchy.
Yeah. So it's like if you want the exact time, you should do minus it, right? You should minus it, but let's not do too much complication. It's fine, right? The service, which is the place of repository, controller, which is the place of service, right? Which is the place of service. So okay, the most of the time where it took the DB call, right? So the total time processing, it's like 955 seconds it took. But out of 955, the controller class is completed, right? Controller class is completed 453. Even though it is 453, almost all major part, right? 90% it's took like database, right? So database took 365 milliseconds. So let me send one more request. This time, the processing won't be that much time, right? So you see, it's like 21 milliseconds, right? 21 milliseconds. Now you see the DB call, how much time it took. DB call took around 12 milliseconds. The service won't take any time, right? So it won't take not even a millisecond, right? It's completed within millisecond, and the controller also completed within milliseconds, right? Within milliseconds. But the total time is 21 seconds. After response, I mean after controller execution, so it's still taking how much time? It's like 31 minus 21. So almost are 8 seconds, right? 8 milliseconds. 13 plus 8, it's 21 milliseconds, right? 21 milliseconds. So 8 milliseconds it's taking to convert the response into JSON. Right? Why it is taking that much time? Because it has to execute filter, it has to convert the response into JSON, right? That entire processing it is taking 8 milliseconds. Now let's go and try any method. You see that clearly it's going to log how much time the controller took, how much time the service took. Right? So how much time the controller took. So it's for the first time, so that's why it is taking this much time, right? So but still it is okay. We are able to respond within 1/4 of second time, right? 215 milliseconds. So 250 milliseconds is 1/4 of second, right? 1/4 of second, it's fine. Just 1/4 of time, we are giving the response time. Okay, but real time it won't be this much fast because everything is running on a single machine. That's why it is pretty fast. In the real time, the database will be running on one place, right? So the database will be running on one place, and your application service will be running on one place. So obviously it will take like 500 milliseconds, or at least like one second, right? 1 second, minimum 1 second it will take time. Yes, fine. Okay, so this is how we usually use AOP in the real time. Okay, yes. So this is one example. I cannot guarantee, right? So this is the only use case. No, sometimes they do some pre-processing, post-processing. So those are all the places they use it. So AOP can be customized. So I'm showing one use case where we can use the AOP. But in your project, there might be so many places and so many use cases the AOP can be implemented. Okay. So this is one way. This is one way we can log this time. But sometimes you see a different approach. Some people write some custom annotation and they will put the custom annotation on methods and they expect that processing should be done, right? That annotation processing should be done. So let's do the same thing. Let's write a custom annotation. So do you ever write any
Sunil,
annotation in your life?
Sunil, what if if we written null here instead of target object?
It will be null. That final response also null. Don't do that. If you return null, start the server, you don't get the response, you will get the null only. So internally it will throw some null pointer exception. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, see this. So Spring itself is getting exception, right? So Spring itself is getting exception because our main class return, the main class is trying to execute some methods, right? Our main class also part of, right, part of our logging, right? So then and there we are getting the exception. So never do that kind of mistake. Okay, around should always return whatever you are getting from the proceed join point. If proceed join point returning null, it's fine. If this method is returning null, it's fine. But don't return null. Okay, manually don't return null. That is not like kind of bug. Okay, your application won't get started. Okay. Yes.
Here we are not calling the.
No, it's not audible event. Right? Can you speak a little louder?
Hello, Sunil. Can you hear me?
We can hear. It's Sharath,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, like here, we are not calling this AOP this function asynchronously, right?
Our own method. That's what you are saying, right? We are not
No,
calling.
we are not calling asynchronously, right?
It's not asynchronous. Yes, it is milliseconds, right? How much time this method execution will take? Milliseconds. If you do exception logging into some table, then you have to do asynchronous. It is just the time lagging. It won't be a nanosecond, right? It's just current. What extra we are doing? We are just this Java code won't take not even more than nanosecond for sure. Okay, so might be some 100 nanoseconds, something like this. So milliseconds, again 1000 nanoseconds, right? So this code won't even take 1 millisecond. Fine. If it is for 1 milliseconds creating thread, it won't be good, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Thread itself is costly, so let's not create for 1 millisecond, 2 milliseconds. Okay, but if you would like to log this exception into table, that time you have to do asynchronous because that is a DB call, right? Again, it will take some time. So any DB logging or any Elastic's logging and all, let's not do that. Okay, let's not do that synchronous. Let's use asynchronous mode.
Yeah. Sure. Got it.
If you're just logging the time, fine. This method itself will be completed in 1 millisecond. 1 millisecond. So 1 millisecond is acceptable. For 1 millisecond, let's not create a separate.
Yeah. Got it.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Let's create a custom annotation and see how we can do by using custom annotation. So let's create a custom annotation. Okay. Right click new annotation. So this is our day 6 class, right? Annotations. Let's put this in the AOP. How to recreate a custom annotation? We already created, right? Already as part of annotation session itself we completed. So let's create one more. Log execution time. Okay, log execution time. We don't need to name it annotation because it's going to start with it. interface et, right? So by looking into that et character, you can understand. But there are two mandatory things we need to configure, right? Any annotation must have two parameters. What is that? One is retention policy, right? I think, yeah. So yeah, retention. So you should say what is the type, right? So whether it's a runtime or class compile time. So let it be runtime. And you should also say what level this has to be allowed, right? Whether constructor level, class level. But we discussed yesterday itself, Spring AOP is going to support only method level. So the target must be, right? The target must be method, right? So target must be method. So these two are mandatory. One is target and another one is retention. One is target and another one is retention. Yes. So we are done with writing annotation. So how are we going to use this, right? How are we going to use this? So instead of writing a point cut execution, it's also write a custom annotation. Okay, it's also possible to write a custom annotation. So yeah, so the methods which are having this annotation, for example, if controller on get method, if you put at login execution time, yes, so then only your aspect is going to be executed. So the methods which are having this annotation, for those methods alone, right? For those methods alone, we will do some process, right? We will log the time. So if you would like to log only controller class, how much time it is taking, only controller class globally, right? Each controller class, how much time it is taking, then this is enough, right? So only for controller classes, then custom annotation is sufficient. So whatever we did, it's like all the methods, including our database, how much time the repository is taking, service is taking, controller is taking. But this time, let's not go that much deep. Just focus only on controller classes, right? Controller classes. Then annotation is fine, right? Custom annotation. So how we can configure that custom annotation point cut, right? We already saw one annotation, right? So point cut. So this is not, this time it's not execution. This time it's going to be okay, annotation. So let's give the fully qualified name. So package name dot annotation name. Okay. So let's give the method name. All methods in mobile service with log execution time. Log execution time annotation. Right. So or else let's give a name. Annotated with log execution time, right? So log execution time, right? Log execution time annotated with log execution time annotation. Okay. So this is what is our point cut. So now you see only controller class methods, how much time it took will be printed on the console. Okay. So this is one model, like writing our custom annotation and using custom annotation, like keeping that annotation on top of method, and so that particular method, how much time it took can be yeah. So now it started. Let's go to what? Let's go to Postman and send the request. You see only controller time. This time it's only one aspect, right? Our method execution aspect printed only one message, and it says how much time that controller, only controller, right? So it's not going to consider other methods, right? Other methods. So this is also one of the way. You can write a custom annotation and you can specify only for these methods, only the methods which are having that annotation. You can do some process, right? So we are doing logging time, but you can also do something else, right? You can also do something else. So for example, you would like to see how many times this method called, right? One particular method, how many times is called, because that might be the costly method. So So you would like to know the time, right? How many number of times that method called? Yes, that's also you. I mean, it depends upon use case actually. So we are just trying with the login time. We are just trying with login time. Okay. So this is how we use AOP. So we are learning very important, right? So important things we are learning. So it's also possible to mix with profiling our Spring Boot, I mean Spring Core feature profile, right? For example, you want to enable only on the production and you want to enable only on the dev, right? And you want to do, for example, in the dev you may want to log everything, right? In the dev you may want to log every method, right? Every method. I mean, maybe in the dev and QA, right? Production, not in the production environment, development environment and QA environment. But in the production environment, we don't want to log all the methods, only particular methods, right? Only particular method. Then you can go to our aspect and load this expression, right? Load this expression dynamically. So putting this expression in the profile specific properties file, right? So I hope you remember application dev.properties file, right? Application QA.properties file, prod.properties file, right? So like that you can load it, right? So you can give different expression and you can, I mean, you no need to load all methods, right? Only controller class methods like the construction. And if you would like to join these two, for example, you can also join, right? So every method in the service and which is annotated, right? Which is annotated. So you can just do a join. Yes, you can just do a join, and you can pass this, right? So yeah, so you can give this. What happened? Point at some problem, and okay, point cut is not welcome. Taking some problem with the point cut. So this is our first point cut. Okay, let's do one thing. Okay, let's use a combination here, right? So not in the above, right? Let's remove this AND operator from above. Yeah, let it be there. And here we will use this AND operator and okay, combination of these two. Every method and as well as it should be annotated with so let's start point cut or two AND operator. Let's remove one.
That's what I was about to say.
I just copy pasted. So yeah, well, let's wait. Yeah, it's starting this time. I think it's going to work. Okay. So it's going to check these two conditions, right? Two conditions. Every method, and as well as it must be annotated with extension, right? Every method, and it should be annotated with. So now let's go ahead and send. You see only one thing is going to print it because only controller class, right? Only controller class is having that annotation. So it's AND operator. If I just make change to undo to R, every method it will take care. Undo to R, it will take care of every method. So like that you can have more control. Okay. And you try loading like profiles, try to create profiles and see load these expressions from properties file. Okay. Load these expressions from properties file so that you can try. Okay, but let it be there. Let's log every method how much time it is taking. So that will be useful, right? So if you want, you can print it in any separate logging file, separate log file. Let's maintain a separate log file, and you print these messages only in that particular log file. So not all the I mean, in common logging file. Just you create some other log file and you just print. Okay, so that is also fine. So with this, we are done with AOP. So now our microservices, anyway, we are not going to use this. We are going to use first one only. Okay, so just for demo purpose, I showed that custom annotation with the AOP. Okay, let's log every method, right? Let's log every method which is how much time it is taking. Okay, yes. Let it be there. So it's good, right? So this is how we usually use AOP.
Sunil, can you show once that annotation class?
It's a simple annotation. Okay, just a simple annotation. It's not even taking any parameter.
Okay, but how it is linked to that package?
We wrote the point cut, right?
Yeah, point cut here we wrote. So just,
So we are calling this point cut.
but did we use our annotation name anywhere here?
In the controller class, I think you missed the flow. In the controller class, we annotated, right? Methods with
Yeah,
log execution.
yeah, we annotated as log execution time, but
That
in that annotation nothing is there, right? Other than a method.
yeah, that is what the method which is having this annotation, our aspect will get executed. That's it. The method which has that annotation, automatically our advice will get executed. So that annotation, whatever it has, we are not going to use anything.
Okay.
It's chaining, right? It is mapped to that, and that is mapped to that.
Yeah, it's like we are loose coupling. Uh, we are not going to do a tight coupling. So we just write an annotation and use that annotation, and we would like to do something. For example, if you would like to do something for these annotations, right, request mapping annotation, still you can do. Okay, so some annotation, that's it. It is not going to take any parameter. So the method which has annotation, you wanted to do at that point of time, right? You wanted to do at that point of time, log time, right? So what you are going to do, you are going to log the time. So that what will happen, how much time this log execution time, I mean how much time this method took, because it has this annotation, right? So that's why it's working. So this is one of the way we can configure the point cut. But very rare scenario. The most commonly used is execution or within, right? Highest priority is execution. So we can also use within, because we want to say like all the packages and sub packages, right? So that is also fine. So it's better readability. So sometimes we use annotations. So that time we can play like this annotation AOP.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, I know it's little confusing topic. Let's just you do like yesterday I told, right? Mobile service. Now we completed AOP. Your service should also have AOP, right? You just go through this recording and implement this functionality also. Now your service should also log in the console every method how much time it is taking. Every method how much time it is taking. Right, in between you also practice this annotation, right? So you get better. Okay, so any questions before we wind up the session?
Sunil, is it possible like to show like you told right Kibana log when it will be?
No, no, not now. That is in the microservices.
Oh,
Microservices centralized.
microservices. Huh?
Yeah,
Okay,
centralized login.
okay, okay. When you will do in cloud.
No, not cloud. In local itself, we will run multiple instances.
Okay.
We have to. We are not yet develop. We are not yet done with developing all microservices, right? First, let the development complete. So once we are running the actual microservices, and we are it's part of microservices concept. Okay, I will explain that time. Not now.
Yeah, Sunil, when we use that plus symbol in the point cut value equal to, right, execution.
Plus, we didn't
Yeah.
no plus, right? It's a star dot. Where is the plus?
And now we didn't use, but in my project it is there, like
Some expression
yeah, some
might.
expression. Yeah,
Yeah,
class.
you need to go here. So to get more idea about the expression languages, you have to read this expression concept. Okay, so we have explanatory, right? So it's just another topic. So you go and get better idea how that plus works, explanatory works, question marks works, right? Yes.
Yeah.
So we are in between learning expression language, right? We are using dollar, curly braces, hash. Yesterday for validations we used curly braces, and today we are using some expression language, star, dot, dot. So like that, there are so many expression languages are there, right? There are so many expression languages are there. So So whatever we are learning is sufficient, like more enough. But if you want to get better idea, you go and learn more expressions, right? So this we already learned, right? Ash, and dollar, right? So dollar also we also saw get value dollar, and we are loading it, and yeah. So there is a huge information will be available. Just go through where is that place there. Even I'm not sure. I never used that place. Mostly I used star, dot, dollar, question mark, dollar, hash, curly braces, AC. Yeah. So these are the expressions, regular expressions, right? So question mark has some meaning. D means digit and some digit number. I don't know what is this place. Might be you need to just go through the Java regular expression
Okay.
things.
For
Okay.
cron tabs also we use the same syntax.
Pardon?
For cron tabs.
Yeah, cron also it's an expression, yes. But cron expression is different. These are Java expressions.
Cron is Linux, right?
Yeah, Linux expression. Those are not Java. Java itself is evaluated those expressions from Linux. So Java may not have full how Linux has. So Linux is a master, because you know the author for Java, right? James Gosling. So he's he's from Unix background. So most of the things he took from Unix, these expression languages and this method execution flow, right? So most of the concepts are like we have some kind of similarity with Unix. Yes. So those are from Unix. Cron from Unix.
And Sunil, do you plan to take Dockerization for the microservice?
No, in this training we are going to learn only microservices development. Okay, actually, microservices are going to be classified into two sections. One is development, and another one is deployment. Right. So I think we already discussed this. Right. So in development we are going to learn these things. Right. Java. So Spring Boot. So in Spring Boot, many things, right? Core, MVC, Data JPA, JDBC, web services, and AOP, security, reactive programming, right? These are the modules you're gonna learn, and few microservices deployment issues, right? Like when you deploy it, how two microservices components they're gonna discuss, like Eureka, service registry.
Monetization and all those things.
Yeah. So Eureka, so which is a service discovery, and I will also cover history.
Rule.
That is gateway, right?
Gateway,
Zool is
yeah.
a gateway, and we also learn about histories like circuit breaker and some kind of tracing like Zipkin. So once you send the request from where to where it went, like that we will learn. But all these services are already available in the Kubernetes. One problem is Kubernetes has Kubernetes has all these features. Mostly in the production, in the real time, these things will not be used until unless too much Spring dependency creation. So K8s has all these services. Mostly we will be using K8s features, but you should know what is this Joule, what is this Eureka, what is this Zipkin, right? So that is another thing. So in between we will use some tools for development, right? So for example, Git we use to maintain our code. Maven as a build tool, right? Maven as a build tool, and Project Lombac as a utility, right? Project Lombac as a utility, right? So these kind of things we will use. So these are the things every developer should know. If you would like to work in the microservices development, then every developer should know these features. So next, microservices deployment part, right? So deployment part is going to be these things. So Jenkins, it starts with Jenkins pipeline. As soon as you check in the code, your Jenkins should start building that. So Jenkins, and it use some Ansible script, okay, to connect it to the cloud, any cloud. It can be a GK cloud or on-prem. cloud or physical server. So how we can connect from Jenkins to the corresponding server, right? So by using Ansible, but in between Jenkins will run and it will create a Docker image. It will create a Docker image, and that corresponding Docker image will be pushed to Docker Hub. Okay, and it runs some Ansible playbook to deploy this code into AWS. Okay, AWS right now at this point of time, people are using Ansible to get it deployed in K8s, okay, Kubernetes. But actually these days all the clouds, right, K8s and Google, I think yeah, K8s and Google, I think Google Cloud Foundry, GCF, I will.
Yeah.
Okay, Azure, right? So I don't know what we call for Azure. So let's name it Azure itself, right? So these clouds, they are having Kubernetes itself on service. So AWS is providing EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Service, okay, and Google is providing GKS, Google Kubernetes Service. Azure is providing AKS, Azure Kubernetes Service. So right now, no one is, I mean, very less people are using these services, right? So they are manually deploying it. So going forward, it won't be like this. They will use AKS, right? They will use this service itself. They will directly deploy the code into the service, right? So internally, right now, maybe in the future they do it. So right now, these Dockers are going to be deployed. If it is AWS, so that is ECS, Elastic Container Service. So they will deploy Docker in ECS, and they will put it by running some Ansible playbook script. They will put it under Kubernetes node, right? So some pods, some architecture is completely different for Kubernetes. So they will join that some auto scaling and auto scaling features should be there. So it will automatically add it. So the new Docker image container will automatically add it in under Kubernetes pod. So this is completely a different training. So this part is called DevOps. Okay. So there are so many things are there for each and every area. For example, some companies may use Jenkins, some companies may use different. Okay, and Ansible is one scripting tool. Some people may use Puppet, and some companies may use I forgot the name. So let me Google it. Right. So if we put Ansible versus, it will show what is the competitor for Ansible. Right, when we say Ansible versus, yeah, Chef. Some companies may use Chef. Okay, so these are alternatives. So if you learn Chef, so some companies may use Chef, some companies may use Puppet, some companies may use Ansible. Okay, so some companies may use Docker Swarm, some companies may use K8s, Kubernetes. K8s is very famous, obviously, and some companies may use EKS for their Kubernetes actual production. I mean, Kubernetes orchestration is going to be maintained by EKS, GKS, AKS based on their cloud usage, right? So, so this part we are not going to cover here. Okay, so that is going to be the completely pure backend, right? And how you can analyze the logs. Anyway, here we will learn Elastic ELK, right? Elastic stack. So we will also log our logs into Elastic, and we will use Kibana to read the logs. So that is also we are going to learn here, right? So that is also we are going to learn here. But some kind of analysis. So Kibana has very limited information. So customization, pure customization may not be available. So those things will be covered here. So Grafana, some companies use Grafana, and some companies use some other tools. Okay, so for better analysis purpose. So microservices classified into two sections: development and deployment. So development, these things; deployments, these things. The person who is a DevOps engineer, for sure he doesn't know about Spring Boot anything. But if you want to become a full stack developer, then you should know this, you should know this. But I cannot guarantee how many full stack developer will be strong in all these areas. They might having the knowledge, but they might not be strong like us. Like you're like you cannot, they cannot tell by looking into the issue, okay, this is where it is failing, right? So they may not be that much good enough. So I mean, full stack means you should also learn any one of the front-end technology. It can be Angular, right? So there are so many out there. So HTML for sure, HTML, CSS are common, but when it is coming to JavaScript, it can be Angular, or it can be React.js, or it can be Vue.js. There are so many out there. Mostly Angular and React are leading now. So it's up to you what you can learn. So if you want to become a full stack developer, then you should learn this, any one of this JS, then what our this training and this backend DevOps training. Okay, if you want to be a pure DevOps engineer, then learn this. If you want to be a developer, microservices developer, then you should be good here. You should be strong here, and you should have a basic idea what is going on, what is how the things are working. You should have the knowledge. But anyway, maybe after a couple of